Having a naturally low voice doesn't mean that you cannot achieve a soft feminine sound. In this video I will show you some techniques on how you can cultivate a more feminine, gentle voice, and we will focus on aspects that go beyond pitch alone. Let's explore the strategies that will help you to enhance the femininity of your voice. I will first explain to you the aspects of a feminine voice that go beyond pitch, and then I will also share some exercises with you. First, let's look at the aspect number 1, resonance. In order to achieve a more feminine sounding voice, I would recommend you to shift your resonance from the chest area up to your throat, nasal and head area. This can make your voice sound brighter and more feminine. So basically now I am speaking more from my chest area, and if I try to put the resonance a little bit more up, I automatically have a little bit higher, brighter voice. The second aspect beyond pitch is the vocal quality. Let's talk about breathiness. Breathiness is something that you can introduce in speaking. Whether you have a low-pitched voice or a high-pitched voice, it will give your voice more softness and gentleness. And also you should avoid abrupt changes of volume or of intonation. So basically make very smooth transitions, because everything that is smooth and soft will make the voice sound more feminine. The third important aspect is intonation and melody. Intonation and melody can influence a voice and how it is perceived by others. So one aspect is, for example, a rising intonation. When you end sentences with upward inflection, especially when you ask questions, this can convey a more friendly and approachable tone, which will make your voice sound more feminine. Also, expressiveness is very important. You can use different aspects of intonation to express emotions and musicality to your speech. And this expressiveness will make your voice also more feminine. The fourth aspect is articulation, something that actually has technically nothing to do with your pitch or with the voice, but it can strongly influence how feminine you sound. And that's why you should really focus on precise enunciation. Clearly articulating your words can make your speech sound more elegant, more polished and feminine. And also pausing and pacing is an important aspect that you can use in order to make your voice sound more feminine, meaning that you slow down and you incorporate some natural pauses in your speech. But we will come to that later when I talk about the exercises. So now this is just for you to know in general what you can influence beyond pitch and what you should focus on to make your voice, your lower voice, sound more feminine and more soft. Remember, a low voice can be very attractive because it is usually perceived as calm and as more sensual. And if you add the aspects that I have just mentioned, this can make you even more feminine than a simple high-pitched voice that is maybe even annoying. So let's come to the exercises for a lower voice to make it more feminine. Exercise number 1, resonance shifting. So I have talked about shifting the resonance from the chest area up to the nasal head area. And one way you can do that, if it's too difficult for you to do it while speaking, you can do the humming exercise. So you hum, you start humming like hum, and you start in the chest area and then rise it up until you feel it more coming from your nasal and head area. And when you repeat that, then you will get used to this change of resonance. The second example, I have already talked about it in my Speak Like Marilyn video. This one, Marilyn Monroe had a very different voice. Her voice is said to be very feminine, but it was high-pitched. The breath exercise or breathing exercise can be used also for low-pitched voices because it is as effective. Breathiness, as I said, brings sensuality and softness into the voice. So do some breathy or pronounce some breathy H sounds. And you can do that with your low voice, with a high voice, but here it's about low voices, and it will make your voice much more soft. So for example, say hello, happy, but pronounce the h. It should come like from the inside. The next practice is the intonation practice. You can practice intonation by reading from a book, for example, and exaggerate the melody of the speech. Use higher, lower pitches, use specific melody, rising and falling intonation, and this way you will train your voice, your naturally low voice, to also get a little bit higher, a little bit more melodic, but in a natural way. What I would also recommend you is do the question intonation drill. So oftentimes we ask questions in a way in which the question does not end in a rising pitch. So, for example, I could ask you, have you already tried this exercise? Now you hear that I had a certain melody in my question, but I didn't end it with a high intonation. So in order to practice this, you could say the question as follows: have you already tried this exercise? So now I think you have clearly heard the upward inflection in the end, and this is what you can practice, this upward inflection in the end of a question, because this will also make your voice sound more feminine. Next exercise are articulation drills, because as I said, articulation is important. It gives your voice elegance, and it can make also a lower voice more gentle and soft, as well as more classy and sophisticated, which also adds to femininity. The most famous articulation drill that most of us know are the so-called tongue twisters. Of course, you could do this, but you could also just practice enunciating specific words that have a very gentle character. So words such as feather, whisper, lovely. I think I have already mentioned those words in another voice video, because those are beautiful words that you can really play with and that have this gentle character. If you pronounce the words in a very soft way, it will give your voice beautiful feminine and soft note. And last but not least, I would recommend you the pausing and pacing exercise to simply control your voice a little bit, so speak slower and add some pauses. You can do that by recording yourself and then try to make conscious efforts to slow down and build natural pauses, or you can do this by reading a book loud and follow the words with your finger, and also try to do the same, to slow down, to build in some pauses, etc. These are quite basic exercises, but you see that achieving a more feminine voice with a low tone is entirely possible without having to artificially change the pitch. Because everything that you do artificially, first of all, it will sound artificial. So if I now try to speak like this, I sound like it doesn't sound normal. So yeah, it doesn't sound good. But if you just take your natural voice that you have and try to just transform it into a more soft and gentle version, it will also be more beneficial for you. It will be more natural, easier for you, and still can have a feminine effect. And remember, the key elements that will make the lower voice more feminine are really softness and tenderness. Also, of course, melody and intonation will help. The breathiness helps. And last but not least, this beautiful enunciation will give you this important aspect of elegance. It will make your voice more feminine too. So I hope that this video was helpful for you, and if it was, I would be very happy about a thumbs up. And of course, if you like, I would be happy if you subscribe to my channel and also click the notification bell so that I see you again in my next video. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.